Hey, what's going on, guys? So I'm back with Warframe, and the big update 26 came out, and I wanted to cover what happened with melee, because I think that's really important to understand what the differences are with the melee system now versus before, because the builds have changed drastically, and the overall power has been reduced significantly. And that's not to say that melee is not good still. It's still good, it's just less powerful than it was before, and I'll talk about why that is, and what they changed to essentially alter how people play the game. So let's talk about what they changed first. The two big changes to the overall damage are the changes to crit and the changes to condition overload. The most obvious change being that the mods have different techs now. So Blood Rush will be 60% crit per combo, and condition overload is now 120% damage per status. I also want to mention here that Maiming Strike is much less effective now. It only provides 150% crit chance, which is not additive crit, it's multiplicative, which means that it will stack with other sources of crit like Blood Rush, making it basically obsolete in terms of slide attack crit. To understand why this is the case, let's look at the combo meter. The combo meter has now been changed so that every 20 consecutive melee hits result in one combo counter. This can stack up to 12 for a total of 220 hits. The combo damage multiplier no longer applies to normal light attacks. It only applies to heavy attacks, which are now bound to the Alt fire button on your controller or mouse. This means that even though you're able to get to 12 combo very easily, it won't provide you as big a bonus on light attacks as the previous system did, because you're not getting like a 2 times or 3 times multiplier on your melee attacks. It only provides a multiplier to heavy attacks now, which expend your entire combo meter, assuming you don't have combo efficiency, and I'll talk about that in a second. But even though it doesn't provide a direct increase to your damage, running mods like Weeping Wounds or Blood Rush will apply their bonus for each combo tier. This means you can get up to 760% extra crit chance if you're maxed out on your combo meter. Similarly, with Weeping Wounds, you'll get 540% status chance. Both of these status and crit chances are additive with other sources of status and crit chance. Previously, the old Blood Rush applied after all sources of crit chance had been counted, which made Maiming Strike plus Blood Rush very, very strong for slide attacks. It's like basically the whole reason slide attacking was good, because you could easily get like 700% crit chance with Maiming Strike plus Blood Rush, which would put you in the 7th crit tier, which will increase your crit damage by a lot, and then that in turn will increase your overall damage multiplier, which could result in getting like 20 times extra damage. Now with the current melee system in Blood Rush, you'll be lucky to get to tier 2 crits, which is 200% crit. Basically, if you're going to take one thing away from this, it's that we've lost a huge amount of crit damage. And because getting to 12 combo is very easy, the damage plateaus at about 12 times combo, which means that basically it's easier to get to max damage with your melee, but it doesn't scale as high as it used to. This, however, is only for regular attacks. Heavy attacks will still take the combo multiplier, and they're good for a couple different reasons. Primarily, obviously, they deal more damage than normal attacks. They also expend your entire combo meter. Now, this is only if you don't have combo efficiency. What combo efficiency is it basically determines how much you spend when you do a heavy attack. So let's say you're at 12 combo. If you have 90% combo efficiency, which is the cap, it's a hard cap, you can't get past it, and then use a heavy attack, it basically takes your combo count and multiplies it by 0.9, which is 90%, which results in 198. And this will apply for every subsequent heavy attack. So if you're at 7 times combo, then it'll multiply whatever your current combo count is, which if you're at 7 is probably around 140-ish, and so on and so forth until you're completely out of combo. You can still heavy attack while you're out of combo, but again, it'll just expend all your current combo. And it does seem like certain weapon types have a guaranteed status proc on their heavy attack hit. So most notably, I've noticed that like the Skoliak or other whips will provide a guaranteed slash proc, as well as scythes who also provide a guaranteed slash proc. And I'm sure there's other things that are just like this in the game, but since it's only been out for about a week, I obviously don't know them all yet, and it's going to take time to understand the melee system in depth with all the changes. But since melee efficiency has a hard cap at 90%, it's pretty easy to get to, especially if you have something like Reflex Coil on or running Focus Energy. Also, the passive focus skill from Zenrik, Inner Might, will provide a 60% bonus if you choose that school. And it seems like Rivens can roll as well, so that's another source of possible combo efficiency. The other new addition to the combo system is Inherent Combo. This provides you with a number, which is like 30, 20, something like that, of combo count that you start with and you can't fall under. So like with this mod, Corrupt Charge, it starts you at 30 combo, which is 2 times combo, because remember every combo tier is 20 hits. So this is essentially giving you 30 hits at base, which can be added to with other sources of initial combo from other mods like Rivens. The one great thing about initial combo is that you can use it with heavy attacks and just spam your heavy attack over and over again and never run out of combo, right? Because it's always putting you at that base, whatever, 30 combo. Obviously, this will still deplete your other sources of combo, so if you have like a 12 combo and then you use your heavy attack and your initial combo is 30, then it'll send you back down to 30 combo. Again, this is assuming that you don't have melee efficiency. But hopefully you get the idea of how initial combo works and how it's going to be beneficial when using it with heavy attacks, so you don't ever run out of combo, or you just constantly have the extra multiplier on the heavy attack. With heavy attacks, you also have the option to slam the ground from mid-air, and then that will lift enemies around the point of impact. Lifted is a new type of melee effect in this update, where the enemies are crowd controlled and float in the air until the effect falls off. Now, I don't really like lifted. There is some like potential with extra combo and some other mods that benefit from it, but I don't think it's worth it in most cases for me, especially because they're just so floaty, so you can like knock them away from you. I just don't think that lifted in its current iteration is very good. And heavy attacks aren't the only way to cause this status. There's also some stances that will do it. I try to stay away from those stances personally, but you know, again, it's very new, so we'll probably discover things that work well later on that we just don't know now. On to Condition Overload, the other big nerf to melee damage. So if you're not aware, Condition Overload previously applied a stacking buff for each status on the enemy. This stacked up to 7 times and provided up to a 26.8 extra multiplier on your damage. Now this multiplier applied after all other multipliers were accounted for, right? So you got base damage, you got elemental damage in there, basically everything. Now it works like base damage multiplier. Basically just think of Condition Overload as a pressure point that scales with the number of statuses you have on the enemy. Obviously, as you can see from this little chart that they provided, you can get up to 9.4 times damage. Again, that's only base damage though, it's not total damage. So the numbers here are a little misleading. Like, you might think that they're bad, but in reality they're really bad. Again, that's only comparing it to its previous value, but what else am I going to compare it to, you know? It's still a good mod, it's just not as good as it used to be, obviously, and it is a little more limiting in terms of what you're going to be using it with to build up your damage. And because Condition Overload is now additive with other sources of base damage, you're going to get heavy diminishing returns if you use it with like a Riven or something else that has plus melee damage on it, which is the base damage roll for melee. It's just not called base damage because nothing is really called base damage. Even the base damage mods for primary weapons aren't called base damage, and this one's called melee damage for whatever reason. Alright, but let's move on. The next big change to melee is range. So the way they changed the range in this update is that it's no longer multiplicative with your base range on your weapon. So as you can see here with Prime Breach, it now provides 3 range. And because it's no longer based on the weapon's base range, it's less useful for weapons that have a high base range and more useful for weapons that have a lower base range. This effectively normalizes weapon range across the board. And on top of a few buffs to like daggers and other smaller range weapons like that, your average range with melee is going to be probably about 5 meters now. Where before, if you accounted for all melee weapons, you probably have like an average range of 3 or 4. Overall, I think this is a pretty good change. It makes weapons like daggers much better, and weapons like the Skoliak are a little less good, although they're still good at getting that big range hit if you want to. Hopefully that change is pretty self-explanatory. Before I move on, I want to cover the modding screen real quick, because they updated the modding screen in this update, and it's a pretty big change, because it allows you to see all the stats you're actually modding for, when previously you only could see the damage stats. So now you can see combo duration, blocking angle, fall through, and range, which I think will help a lot of people understand what they're actually modding, because before it was just like put a range mod on, test your range, and now you can actually see what your range is. Should this have been in the game the entire time? Absolutely, but it is now, so you know, that's pretty good. I just wanted to point that out so you can keep your eye on it if you're modding your new weapon after the update. Hopefully that makes it a little bit easier to figure out what's good and what's not. One of the other big changes that came to melee is the blocking change. So now blocking is on right click for PC or whatever the equivalent is for consoles. And now if you want to block, you can just block, and if you don't want to block, you don't have to. Blocking also increases combo count, and because combo count's been lowered, again, it's going to make it a lot easier to gain combo while blocking. Hopefully you're sensing a theme here where they've made combo a lot easier to get, but not as good. The last thing I want to cover here in terms of modding is that Blood Rush now works with pseudo-exalted weapons. Same with Weakened Wounds, it seems like. So you'll be able to get high crit and high status chance on pseudo-exalteds. This is mostly applicable to Cora because she has 25% status and crit chance on her Whip Claw. Atlas, on the other hand, is only 5% for each, so it's probably not very good for him. But it is worth knowing because modding for it can be very strong. It's a great way to get crit and damage. Now I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, how should I mod my melee weapon now that the mods have changed? The main change here is that the combo meter goes really high, remember? This is a direct buff to the amount of status you can get with weakening wounds. If your melee weapon has over 18% status chance at 12 combo, weakening wounds will give you 100% status. And if you are modding for weakening wounds like this, then I would suggest probably pairing it with conditioned overload instead of prime pressure point. I would not run both together because again, you get diminishing value from running both prime pressure point as well as conditioned overload. To illustrate the change from the previous conditioned overload, let's look at some numbers. So previously, if you had 100 base damage on your weapon and you modded with both conditioned overload and prime pressure point with 3 statuses, you would have 100 times 2.65 times 4.1. However, with the new system, you would have 100 times 2.65 plus 3.6, which gives you 625. That's almost a 40% damage reduction compared to the old system. Just to illustrate how bad the nerf is, and this only gets bigger the more damage you deal. This is all because conditioned overload is now additive with other sources of base damage, which is not called base damage because players probably wouldn't be able to understand what base damage is if they called it that. As for Blood Rush, if your crit chance is over 13%, you'll have a 100% chance to cause a tier 1 crit. If it's over 26% chance at base, then you'll have a 100% chance to cause a tier 2 crit. If you're looking to get over 300% crit chance on a melee, then your crit chance at base is going to have to be about 40%. And then the more crit chance you get, the more value crit damage has because of how crit tiers work. And I have a whole video covering how crit chance works, which I'll link to below. But overall in this new system, having damage is more valuable than having like crit chance because we can't actually get that much of it. Because of this, mods like Blood Rush are going to outclass basically any other source of crit chance. Because remember, if you have Blood Rush on and you have a maxed out combo, that's like 700% crit chance. Whereas if you have a Riven or something and it has 100% crit chance on it, that's going to add to the 700%. So you're barely getting any value out of that extra crit chance. Although, if the crit chance from the Riven or other mod puts you over a threshold that allows you to get like 200 to 300% crit chance, then it could be worth running because it'll guarantee that extra damage from the extra crit tier. But it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, so try to pay attention to what your crit chance is going to be at certain combo tiers. Now, if you're building for heavy attacks, which I think is definitely a good idea with the new update because heavy attacks are very, very powerful, you're not going to be building around combo as much because heavy attacks expend combo. Even at maxed out efficiency, it's going to take you down every single time. So with heavy attacks, I personally think that initial combo is going to be better than building up your combo to max level and then expending it. But obviously I haven't tested this to a great extent, so don't take my word for it unequivocally. Just make sure you test it for yourself. But if you're not building for heavy attacks, then I think Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds are just two of the best mods now and are so much better than their counterparts that it's a little silly. And if you are building for status, then I think Conditioned Overload is still viable, just less viable than it was before. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video covering the melee changes. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. And if you found the video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like and sub for future content. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. Hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you later.